Hi guys, my name is Pip and today I'm going to tell you which tropes drive me crazy, and I'm not going to limit myself to works of fiction. I'm also going to be talking about TV and movies because some of the most irritating examples are in TV and movies. Quick warning, there will be some language used in this video that some may consider strong or even rude, but as far as I'm concerned, in this context, those words are accurate descriptive words. And quick trigger warning, I am going to be mentioning abuse in this video. So the first trope I hate is the excessive forgiveness or tolerance trope. It drives me crazy when you see a character that either treats their love interest poorly on a everyday basis, or cheats on them repeatedly, or is a giant asshole who it's difficult to like at the best of times, and you see them repeatedly forgiven or cut slack because of a difficult childhood, and they're just forgiven and loved in spite of their flaws, and there's no repercussions for their actions at all. It shits me. I'm okay with you being the bigger person and forgiving someone who is an asshole and seeing some redeeming feature in them, but there has to be consequences for their asshole actions. If there isn't, it's just an abusive relationship. In the real world, you might give someone a second chance, but the trust between you has changed. It has been altered. You're not going to just go back to being blindly in love or in lust or infatuated with someone who's fucked you over. Your eyes have been opened. The rose-colored glasses have at least come off, and if that person keeps fucking you over, they smash the rose-colored glasses. And at that point, if not a bit earlier, you need to walk away. You can love someone and forgive them and walk away. Otherwise, you're in an abusive relationship. And realistically, there is only so much bullshit that one person is worth. And if you keep taking it, you might be dickmatized. This is actually one of the things I liked in the Divergent series. That being said, I didn't get much beyond the first book. But 4 has a really low bullshit tolerance, and I like that in a character. Number 2, scientific or anatomical inaccuracies. Now this one might irritate me more than it annoys other people because my occupation is based in the health field. I particularly noticed this one in film, although I do see it in literature as well, but it's a little bit easier to black it out and pretend it didn't happen and hope that it's just a typo. So this one I see in movies all the time. And what happens is someone gets stabbed with something. I've seen needles, I've seen scissors, I've seen knives of various different sizes. And they get stabbed in like the upper shoulder region or a little bit around their shoulder blade. Like, mate, you just popped that person's lung. But don't worry about that because they're some sort of kung fu kicking awesome badass like Jason Statham or Stallone, and they're just gonna run right out of that situation with a popped lung. No, it's just not gonna happen. They're gonna be on the floor in fucking pain, gasping for air with a pneumothorax at worst. At best, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because their oxygen saturation levels will drop and they're suddenly working on one lung or maybe 1.5 if they're lucky. Speaking of Jason Statham, my best friend and I are obsessed with shark movies. We go and we watch them and we cling to each other for dear life because we're absolutely terrified, but we can't look away. We went to see The Meg, and it was the best unintentional comedy movie I have ever seen. Really early on, this woman gets impaled or gets stabbed, I can't even remember. She gets impaled on something and it's here. It's underneath her left breast and they go, oh, she's been stabbed in the liver. No, she hasn't. She's been stabbed in the stomach. The liver is on the other side of the body, and how hard is it to actually type in liver in Google on your phone and check to see if it's on the right side of the body or the left side of the body? Now, medical inaccuracies can be fun. They can be obviously dramatized, like in shows like ER and Grey's Anatomy, where they just cut out the boring bits where you wait and see if someone is going to survive and they just slice you up and stitch you up and hey, you're good. I can appreciate that. That's for dramatic effect. But they're not telling you your foot is your asshole. The one you see in literature all the time is people with spectacular fitness, despite never having done a day of training, never having run a day in their life. They can just run forever or fight like machines. They just suddenly have extreme karate skills. People train for this shit. Athletes train every day. It takes ages to get fit enough. If you do intense like karate training for 2-3 months, you're still not gonna be a black belt. If you're not a runner, I dare you to go outside now and try and run up and down your street. And if you're not puffed at the end of it, well, good for you. But if you are, maybe your characters would be as well. So all I'm asking you to do is consider the fitness of people. And while we're at it, there are only so many punches you can take to the head before you fall over and get fucked up. The cranium is incredibly sensitive to pressure, to compression, and to punches to the head. You can't just have your character take like 45 punches to the face and then shake it off and land that one punch that knocks the other guy on his ass. The guy who took 45 punches to the face should at the very least be fucked up and maybe a little bit dead. Number 3, age tropes. Oh, age tropes. It's always the older man and the young, beautiful, just turned 20 woman. It's like it's not possible for a middle-aged man to love an age-appropriate woman. And I get the idea that for a female audience, it might be exciting to have the love interest be a middle-aged man who's actually got his shit together. Because the guys that they're dating in their real life are boys. But still, it annoys me because it plays into the idea that it's impossible for a man to actually fall in love with someone who is mature, who has their shit together, who has some wrinkles on their face, whose boobs might have dropped a little bit with gravity, and who is of the same age as them. It also plays into the idea that a man can't handle a mature aged woman. And I know plenty who can. And it can be done in a way that is straight up creepy, and I know that everybody has their thing that they're attracted to, and sometimes it works out, like Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michael Douglas. Who saw that lasting? But they did, and good on them, and more power to them. But can we see something else in literature, please? And for some reason in literature, the reason why they're attracted to someone who's significantly out of their immediate age range is because they're a gold digger, or they have daddy issues, or they're a sugar daddy, or they're just a creep who's taking advantage of a young woman. And for some reason, they always play the age doesn't matter card, but they do it at an age where it really, really does matter. What does a 20-year-old girl have in common with a 45-year-old guy? Nothing! Okay, maybe if she's had a really hard life and she's mature beyond her years and she's been through so much already, they can relate. But generally, no. And that sort of age gap has me thinking that when he was 25, she was a fetus. And that's just gross. You're just in such different places in your life at 20, and I have never met a 20-year-old who has a good enough concept of who they are and what they want from life and what direction they're going that they could possibly relate to someone who's in the region of their parents' age in a romantic sense. Now, I do have less of a problem with the age difference when she's like 40 and he's 65, so same age gap. But by that point, you've actually had some life experience, life has kicked you in the ass a couple of times, and you're a little bit jaded and you've got more to relate to. And I'm still confused about what a teenage girl could have in common with a 100-plus-year-old vampire, apart from their mutual enjoyment of blood. But her enjoyment of blood is based on her enjoyment of existence. And his is based on a culinary experience. Let's just ignore the fact that a 100-year-old man would not be interested in a 16, 17, 18-year-old girl. And if he was, ew! My other issue with the age trope is when it's reversed. So it's always the young guy who's coming of age and he's hooking up with the mid-40s sad divorcee lady. And he's always the fucking hero for boning her and filling her with his youthful exuberance. Maybe she should be the fucking hero for teaching him a thing or two about sex. But no, at best, she's the woman he eventually falls for, and then he turns into a stage 5 clinger. Or even worse, he becomes the hero again because he offers her her last chance at motherhood. But she sets him free. You know why she sets him free? Because she's the only one who's old enough to know better. She knows that babies don't fix relationships that are already broken, and he's a child. In sci-fi books, it seems to be really common that this gorgeous, beautiful being is created, and she's at best early 20s. And she's just been born into this amazing world, and now everybody wants to fuck her, of course. I don't care if she is 20, has boobs, and a full set of raging hormones. She's still just been born, and that's gross. Number 4, the glorification of abusive relationships and douchebag boyfriends. I wish I was just glaring at 50 Shades of Grey with this one, but unfortunately I'm not. But the fact that so many people shipped that relationship enough that it got made into 3 terrible movies worries me. Christian is a controlling, manipulative, emotionally and physically abusive wanker who needs to be told that he can stick his relationship and his contract where the sun don't shine. He might want to lube the contract up first so that he doesn't get paper cuts, but I'm not sure that he doesn't deserve them. Abusive partners, regardless of their gender, should not be shoved down our throat as a character that we should feel sorry for who just needs to find the right lover and then they'll be healed. That's not healthy. That's like saying, I'm going to treat you like shit and you just have to take it, because if you take it, I'll be able to get it out of my system and love you the way I should love you. Number 5, getting married 5 minutes after you meet someone. This is actually the thing that I hate most in Frozen, because it just makes me want to scream at Anna, have some pride, for the love of God, and get a grip, woman. Once again, I find it really difficult to believe that someone in their early 20s can have had enough life and relationship experience that they can correctly pick the person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with, or at least a significant portion of their life with, and marry them within 6 months. I have always prided myself on being a good judge of character. When I meet someone, I either really like them or I dislike them. The people that you end up feeling kind of neutral and you could go either way on, usually you go either way on them and they fade out of your life. But the people who I've felt really strongly one way or the other about, I have never changed my mind about one yet. And so I really trust my own judgment when it comes to meeting other people. But even I wasn't silly enough at 20 to think that I could conceivably choose the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And I know that it does work out. I actually went to school with some people who got married in their early 20s, and they have bunches of kids and they're happy as clams, and I'm quite sure that they're going to make it. But for the vast majority of the people I know who got married in their early 20s, they're all divorced, and they all got divorced long before they turned 30. But it's just a trope I have difficulty with. Let's just leave it at that. Number 6, the handsome jock falls in love with the dorky, intelligent, unpopular girl, and because he shines his light on her, she gets a blow dry and takes off her glasses, and suddenly everybody can see that she was worthy of his love. Really? Number 7, the love triangle trope. Now, I know that this has been done to death, which is why I've left it till last. And it can be done really well, or at least tolerably well. The only example that I can actually think of right now that I actually enjoyed is in Grey's Anatomy, when Meredith is dating Macbeth, and she is dating Macbeth because she had to move on because McDreamy is McMarried. So in that situation, I could totally see how you could end up in a kind of love triangle, because your heart is over there with someone who's just not available, so you have to move on with your life, and you end up meeting a lovely vet who you actually quite like. Still, you love this guy. That seems legit. And it worked for me because both guys were pretty decent guys, because Meredith was then eventually open with the fact that she was dating both of them, so neither of them felt deceived by the fact that she was seeing both of them. And yes, I know that in a love triangle someone always gets hurt, but eventually Meredith chose correctly, and she chose McDreamy, even if he then walked away to be the better man. Love triangles like what we see in the Hunger Games, where Katniss can't decide between Peter and what's his name? Liam Hemsworth. Gale. When she can't decide between Peter and Gale, like, she doesn't have any strong feelings for either of them. I wasn't shipping any of those relationships. This love triangle left me feeling very meh, and it made me want to yell at the book and tell Katniss she doesn't have to choose somebody. It's okay to not choose someone. You don't have to choose someone just because they're there. And just because Peter threw that lump of bread that one time doesn't mean you owe him shit. except for maybe a thank you because, well, thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know below in the comments what tropes you hate, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, and make sure you hit subscribe and like so that this channel can grow.